after I make that, then I begin to notice other things about it. I mean, sometimes the artwork is sort of like, so it's half suspicion, and then the other half is you follow it up by making stuff, and then okay, it's like two halves, so it's over. There's another bit which is like discovery, where you look at what you thought of and you try to think, what could this mean, or you discover things about it. And like one of the things I discovered, which I liked, was the fact that when the door opens and it goes from dark to light, because the room is like so white, the light spreads everywhere, and it totally, knocks out the projections of water. But as a result, so that means as a result of when the doors open and close, this light kind of breathes, and the stairway sort of like goes from being a stairway of water to an ordinary stairway. And I really like that. And then the other thing which I discovered when I took my cousins here, like in the daytime, because usually I was like visiting here at night. But in the daytime was that there's something about this work that can sort of like bleed into reality. Which because, okay, there's a passage from the stair up here, which is another passage to like, fairyland. But it makes other passages seem uncanny as well. It's like after we were like in here in the dark, and then they were like, saying that, yeah, it looks like Alice, makes me think of Alice in Wonderland. Then we open the door, and then suddenly you feel this blast of wind, and there's this light everywhere, and your eyes adjust to the daytime, and it suddenly feels like you're back from a different place, from another country, from fairyland. And then as you walk to Bonifacio High Street, then even the sidewalk by the vacant lot appears to be some kind of space that you cross, in order to get to this place. So it actually, because it's a passage, the artwork itself is a passage. About passages, it tends to co-opt other passages, elevators, or something like magical, open and then closed, in a different place. It just seems to be like it sort of like what? It affects other things, other spaces like walking. I began as a filmmaker, so as an experimental filmmaker. It's more fun. So this work is kind of like a return to the. I was like making experimental films. So this work is kind of a return to experimental filmmaking, I think. But when I just thought of it, I didn't think about it as while I was making this, but I just realized it's sort of like everything is a different shot. So instead of like making, because if you talk about a passage in film, then you see like every shot separated in sequence. Whereas here, every shot is separated in space, and you create the sequence, basically edit it, by walking through the various shots. You see the door, and you edit, and then you cut to the stairway, and up the stairway. I like that about it as well, because it was nice to discover that, because it seems that I find that in retrospect, that a lot of my work seems to be, kind of like reacting to the limits or the structure of film. So the first thing that I started, the first kind of art that I was doing after just, writing stuff in my notebook was like experimental film. And I find that, a lot of the stuff that I do is about the limits of film. And I'll talk about that and maybe show, samples of it. But maybe before I do that, which is sort of like this context, kind of part 2. I don't know if anybody wants to ask me anything. Then I will go on and show stuff like the stuff that I used to do. And the sort of stuff that I'm still doing and will do in the future. Like here. So, this is the beginning. what I made. Okay, let me just do an old experimental film of mine, but still very actually got a lot of play in various places. And I like it because we require, although it's an experimental film, you don't require any art education to enjoy it. 5-year-olds, enjoy it as much as 50-year-olds. So, enjoy it. So basically, you get the premise. Like it's just a bunch of sound-making objects. But you get at the end, and it goes to part 2. Where basically all the sounds that you heard before are played again, but with a 3-second delay. This is shown in the first end frame series. These are so this is another one which I'll just show a fragment of also. This one, I should probably talk a little bit about it before the background about this. I have no training in the arts at all. I went to Philippine Science High School, and I was a biology major in UP for about a year. And then I went to the University of Hiroshima. I got a scholarship, non-English scholarship, so I studied Japanese for a year, studied biology in the University of Hiroshima, stopped that midway, came back here, studied philosophy. So I have a strong background in the sciences and in Anglo-American philosophy, but almost zero in art. And this is sort of like me, sort of, I guess, looking back on science or something, or commenting on science, parodying the science that I made. So it's basically called lithophonological transfer of information. And it's an experimental film which was in the shape of a lab report. And what I liked about this one was, this was sort of like the first time that I was really trying to break through the idea of, this like the first, in retrospect, I think that it's sort of like one of the first attempts to really break through the limitations of film. Because although it is not really a film about
Hume's principle. This construes things in the head.
So long ago I saw that here.
Travel through time. They can look to the sense of the past, refer to the sense of the present.
So basically it's like that. There's me talking about theory, and then it goes to, but basically it treats, when I first thought about this film, I thought, I had this idea that, what about a bum who's like, hanging on the back of a jeep with like a coin of Rizal with a hole in it, and then tied to his head, and he would like walk around, and Rizal would, the coin would act like a pinhole camera. Rizal would be able to see the present in his dreams because of this, of this coin on the head of a madman. And then this film was me deciding, okay, screw the madman idea. I'm not going to make a film about a madman. I would make the film that would essentially be the coin. The premise of the film is that, in the end, is that there's a lot of like Jungian theory in there. But the whole idea is that anybody who winds up watching the film would wind up sending their impressions to Rizal. So that the film, instead of being something about something, actually became the execution of, became an object in the world, or actually became a time machine. The way, the means by which transmission, information was transmitted to the past. So instead of being about a time travel experiment, it was the time travel experiment. So that was, my first attempt at like trying to go beyond the pretend dimension of film. So instead of representing something, it was trying to do something, to be the thing that I decided not to represent, to become a time machine. Then another work is when I started like doing stuff, new media stuff, basically stuff with computers and sensors. This one, shift register. Let this play out. It's only 5 minutes long. Actually 37 seconds. So this was an installation in Ogaki, Japan, basically. Like you see here, it was the shape of the work was a tunnel, so that anybody could walk through. So you would walk into the tunnel, and then at the end of the tunnel, which is a bent tunnel, so there would be an end to it, you would see your face. So you were photographed surreptitiously as you walked through the tunnel, and then your face would melt. And basically, then that's one of those like working by suspicion things. I just thought, okay, it would be cool. Make it a tunnel. Takes your picture, you melt. I'm not sure what it was about. I'm thinking it could be about surveillance. Sometimes I tell the story that it's about feeling that the machine is looking at you. That you're being counted, or that you're being gazed upon by a machine. Things like that. But anyway, this is the other. When I tell the story when I see the story as being me fighting against the limitations of film, then I see that this is like my first step in trying to make film, sort of see you or act with you, interact. I don't like to use the word interactive because they say a lot of it is like, oh, this art is interactive. Why? Because when you push this button, there's a bell, ding, so it's interactive. So yeah, I like the fact that I prefer more naive words like it's intelligent or it's alive or it sees you, stuff like that. So this is my first attempt at, I think it's like trying to make film which isn't dead, which tries to which interacts with you in real time. Which of course all video does. So it was the first time that to make that miraculous again. Made sure that it was black and white still, and then it melts.